you had said that being organized. This is from a while back. That being
Mhm.
organized won't hurt your creativity, and that you
Mhm.
used to feel like it might, and that I think you're not alone in that. Where I know I've had conversations with other artists across from me here at this studio, where they've expressed to me how they don't like to plan out sessions or write consistently. They like to let it come to them and figure things out that way. Um, what is your reasoning behind that statement of being organized isn't going to hurt your creativity, and that maybe artists should consider becoming a little bit more organized, a little bit more diligent in their the way they go about their creative process and making things, whether it's marketing, social media, or if it's the music itself.
Yeah, organization, like I think it gets a bad rep. Like people are, I don't know, people think that it needs to be like, oh, you're constantly like everything's super neat, and you have to find what works for you, right? But at the same time, it needs to be disciplined. Like, and I know exactly what you mean, where you're like, oh, like right artists will only write when they feel like writing. The problem is that like what happens when you don't feel like writing for months on end, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but if you kind of make yourself write, you're like, okay, you know what? Every day, 30 minutes, I'm going to write for 30 minutes or
Yeah.
whatever. Sure, you might have bad days, right? But eventually you're going to start to even out. And some of it is just practice. Like if you practice being a little bit more organized, you're going to start to figure out the different ways that you can make your day a little bit better. You can schedule everything. You can write things out, like whatever it is that you end up wanting to do in a way that's going to work for you, but that is also then going to optimize your time. It's going to optimize your output. It's going to make everything just a little bit easier. So it's not like you have to be a specific way. It's don't like look up online like how to be organized or something like that and follow that to a T, because that's what they're doing. You want
Yeah.
to find what's going to work for you and then figure out how you can make that more efficient and more effective. So there are two different things I don't think people like really separate too much. Is like the difference between being efficient and effective. Efficient, right, is like how quickly you can get something done. Effective is what it is that you're actually doing, right? It doesn't really matter. Like if you could be extremely ineffective and where you're like constantly doing things that aren't actually useful to you, things that aren't actually going to help you, but you
Yeah.
do them very efficiently. So it's kind of a different thing, and you want to find the right balance between the two of them. I
Yeah,
feel
that
that
makes
makes
a lot of
sense.
sense. I mean, that it's true, because if you're doing a bunch of stuff that isn't going to do you any good, but you can do it very quickly and you can do it consistently, that doesn't help you. That's the definition of insanity almost to a T, where it's I'm going to keep
Yeah.
doing the same thing even though not hasn't been helping me, and expecting it to change. Um, Now, I'm someone too who, for me, how I go about creating song, I have way too many songs where like I'm writing all the time. Like I'm
Yeah.
always writing, I'm always recording. I mean, I built my own studio and stuff like that, so that helps. It's a little bit more accessible. I know some guys like have to, some people, artists, just have to be in the studio to write, which I don't personally. For me, it's like coming to me like throughout the whole day, whether I'm there or not. But I know some people is like that. So for me, what I always would suggest people is like, either figure out a way to get your own, whether it's a small setup that just gets the job done, whatever it is. You create a space um, where you can go, and that space facilitates creativity. And it's kind
Mhm.
of like what you were saying about the 30 minutes a day. Like that's a space, that's a time in the day. You can do the
Mhm.
same thing with like physical spaces. And that's, I had a conversation a while back on the show with a friend of mine, Joe Diamond, who's a extremely talented magician, and he has to write his stuff and his acts and things of that nature. And he talks about it, I forget, he had a specific name for it, but basically it boils down to that: having a space where you go to, where like you go there to do that thing. So then just by physically being in that place, your your mind is going to start like loosening up to the idea of like, yeah, I'm gonna write some, I got some bars I gotta get off
Yeah.
today, or I got a hook that's coming to me, or wow, I'm listening to these beats and this is going on. And I do think that there's a lot of power in showing up every single day. And like you said, there's going to be days that aren't super great and super productive, but I think by just doing it over and over again, if I write 100, let's say in a form for rap, like if I was writing 100 bars a day or something like that, maybe they're good. Some of them are going to suck. A lot of them are going to suck. But if I'm getting a couple that are solid every day, I got a great 16 in a couple of weeks. Like, you
Yeah.
know, that's all it comes down to. And so like, and that's a, you know, maybe a little bit of an exaggeration with bars specifically, but that's kind of what it comes down to. You know, you can kind of control your creativity a little bit more like that. And I feel like it helps artists when you can be releasing more consistent. I mean, I don't know if you noticed that. Is that a big issue for maybe people that you work with or people that reach out to you? Is that, you know, they really want to make it, but they drop like maybe one song a year, if that? Because I know a lot of
Yeah,
people like that.
definitely. Yeah. And it is hard. Like I get it. You know, I've been doing this a long time myself, and there was been massive periods of time where I didn't make anything, didn't drop anything for a long period of time. But the thing is that people's attention spans these days are very, very short, and people forget things very quickly. So if you're not kind of constantly out there, they're going to forget about it. Even if you come back in 6 months or a year or whatever, like first of all, like why should they remember you? That's one thing that like I don't think people think about very often. People kind of expect that like, oh, if I put my stuff out, like people are going to care about it.
Yeah.
No, you need to give them a reason to care about it. They need to know like what is it in it for me that I'm going to get out of listening to this music or even to a podcast or whatever it is. Like they want to know like why is this cool? Why is it going to be like beneficial for me?
Yeah.
And it also like if you're not consistent with it, they're just going to forget about it. They're just not going to, they're going to find somebody else that's really cool, find somebody else that they resonate with, find somebody else that they connect with that does give them that benefit that they're looking for. So it's extremely important. And even with outside of social media stuff, just to be consistent.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's something too, and kind of going back a second to where you said, you know, find what works for you. I know for
Mm-hmm.
me with social media, it's something again where I'm not in love. You know, there's some aspects of social media that I really love. You know,
Mm-hmm.
obviously when you're doing, I feel like music, you know, or anything creative now is kind of through the lens of content and social media. So like I kind of just accept it where I think it's I do think there's a lot of positives that come out of it. I know a lot of artists and in all aspects, not just music, kind of roll
Mm-hmm.
their eyes that they have to use social media in these things. And I do see their point because I know that like I definitely am frustrated with certain parts of it where I don't want to be posting every day. I don't want to be doing. I get that. But like you said, you got to find what works for you and I know what I've found has been I basically did a couple of runs. I did last year. We did. I did a run where I did 9 weeks straight, release singles, and I had all this music ready to go and all this stuff, and I wanted to release a single a week. And part of that was I didn't want to do what you just described, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna post my music and then that's it, and then you know a week later I'll post my music, or 6 months later I'll just post my music. Like I don't want to just post my music. So I had basically had it set up where I wanted to post twice in between every single song so that like when you like slid down my Instagram it would have all the singles lined up on one side, which I personally just liked the way that that looked. And then it also was a way for me to hold myself accountable where it's like, all right, I know I got another single coming out this week. I got to post two picture, you know, I got to make sure I'm doing something that, you know, here's this part of my life, or here's just something fun. Just give people something other than the fact that you do that. You're a human being at the end of the day. You know,
Yeah.
you might be an artist, might be a musician, whatever, but we're humans. So you want to kind of give people something else, at least in my experience. So I did that for, I mean, I've kind of just stuck with that actually. I've got some new music coming out soon, so I'm going to be posting again on my Instagram, again, much more frequently. But I tried to, even when I wasn't releasing music, try to post on my story somewhat regularly to interact with people, because I know it's something like you said where if you go away for a while, people's attention spans it's like that, and they're on to the next thing. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it happens very, very quickly. Like it's honestly astonishing. At one point I had it was over 2,000 followers on my old Instagram, and I stopped posting for it was like maybe only three months, something like that. And I got back and I put up a couple of different posts, and I was posting every day for it was probably 2 weeks, and I lost like almost all of my engagement. You
damn.
know, even after being consistent for that time and putting up, I was posting every day for 2 weeks. I put up 14 posts, and I think I went from getting maybe 100 to 300 likes per post to getting 20 to 30.
Damn. Yeah.
It drops off very quickly, and it took me a really long time to build that back up again. It took me another 4 months or so of posting like constantly
Yeah.
to get back to that point. So the consistency is even outside of it, out of social media and outside of like anything, like with the writing, right? Like just being consistent in your life, you're going to notice huge benefits. You're going to get better at writing. Like what you were saying earlier, right? If you write out 100 lines every day, even if only a couple of them are good, maybe 3 of them are good, right? Today. But if you keep doing that every day for 6 months from now, a lot more of those lines are going to be good.
Yeah.
Because that's just how you get better at things. Is you're consistent with it, you work at it, you improve, and then over time you just get to a point where you're better at it.
Yeah, you just keep doing stuff and you get better at it. It's crazy. It's mind blowing stuff, you know. But people, I mean, even myself, I feel like everybody, we all have things where we don't have that consistency, and then we wonder why we're not where it is. I know a lot of people have that same thing for fitness and stuff like that too, where it's like, man, I wish I could bench X number of weight or whatever it is, and or I wish I could do this many pull ups, and it's like, well, if you got in the gym every day and you did, maybe you had someone spot you and you did a couple half pull-ups every single day for the next however long, you're going to be doing those 10 pull-ups, whatever. So it boils down to consistency in a lot of aspects of life will help you for sure. Thanks for watching that last video, guys. Click right over here to see the episode in its entirety, or click over here to subscribe and check out all the other cool shit we have on the channel. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Do it.